This single item is all you need to win Season 5. Sweeping massive updates to all uniques is going to make this season absolute mayhem. So much fun. With everyone worried about the Barbarians, someone worded this really well. The damage has simply been moved from the skills to uniques. I'm putting my money on Barb still being at the top. How about you? Let's go over all of the uniques that really stood out to me, and of course, everyone's favorite, the Mythic Uber uniques. Let's jump into it. Before we start going over everything, if you look and you remember last season, they took all of the Uber uniques and made it so the minimum level was level 35 that you can use it. What it appears here is that they took the minimum level of 68 and they've dropped it down to 50. That means that on all of your alternate characters, when you decide to reroll one, because leveling is going to be really fast this season, you'll be able to use all of this gear, all of your unique gear at level 50 before you can even get ancestral gear that's legendary on. Okay, we're going to jump in with Twin Strikes. I played a Dust Devil double swing build last season to level with to start. Later in the season, I played that build and I took it all the way up to hit 130. It was a ton of fun to play. This is going to make it even better. They're going to be adding more attack speed, so up to 20%, great. They're going to add strength, which is going to be armor, and it's also going to be damage modifier to our skill damage. They're going to add critical strike chance. That's a big win, because they're taking away the chance to restore primary resources for that, which is perfect. And then they're going to keep the ranks of double swing the same, but you're going to be gaining up to 40% increased damage, multiplicative, instead of 25%. So this is a really big win for your double swing barbarians. Last season, I got asked all the time, do you have a frenzy build? I did not. But with the changes here, I definitely am interested. They took away the cooldown reduction, which I'm not super fan of, but they added critical strike chance, which is great, and they added up to 6 ranks of duelist. What duelist does is increases the attack speed with dual wield weapons. Frenzy needs to run with dual wield weapons, and I love running dual wield builds. You feel like you are attacking a million miles an hour. This is going to be super fun. They also increased the aspect. What they added was, when Frenzy's maximum stacks are increased by 2, you deal 30% multiplicative increased damage, and your other skills gain up to 55% increased attack speed. This is going to make attacking insane. This is also going to be something that you can play with a weapon swap build. So this is going to be kind of fun to see where this plays into this season. The Ring of Ravenous. I played in the Season 3 a Whirlwind Charge Barb, and it ran Ring of Ravenous. I never got to play a Rend build. This might actually be able to be viable and make Rend come back this season. They took this, they increased the critical strike chance by 3%, which is really big. The vulnerable damage went from 19.5% to a massive 60%. That's a big buff. They kept the brawling skills the same. They removed the damage to bleed, which was just an additive number, and then they added in up to 3 points of Rend. Rend's duration is now going to be increased by up to 8 seconds long. They doubled the time that Rend is going to be up. Rend Flay build, maybe? Who knows? But one of the major skills that they changed here. Damaging an enemy with your brawling skills. Apply 2 stacks of Rend bleed. This is where charge came in. When you would charge, and you would hit something, it would apply 2 stacks of the bleed. Previously, you could only use this once every 4 seconds. They reduced this down to 1 second. So if you charge, and then you wait just 1 second, and then you charge again, you are now applying multiple stacks of Rend bleed over and over again. Same thing with leap. It's going to be pretty crazy to see. Ancient Oath got some massive and also some very unique buffs this season. In the current season that we're in, this was actually started to be used when we were doing Z Barbarian pulls when you're trying to clear the high level pits with your Sork. Now that's going to change a lot because we're going to have new metas, but this is going to be pretty cool to see where this fits in because you're going to be gaining 130% vulnerable damage as an implicit. That's always there. Then you're also going to be gaining 200 strength, which is a 20% multiplicative modifier to your skill damage. We're going to get 270 close damage. And then this is where it's really unique. We're getting cooldown reduction on a weapon. That's kind of cool. The ranks of Steel Grasp is staying the same. And then aspect is also going to be staying the same for this. But cooldown reduction on weapon. Are we going to be cooldown reduction capped the entire season? I think so. And the razor plate. Everyone's favorite thorn chess piece. There's not much change to this, but they did take the aspect and they made it from up to 150 damage to 200% increased damage. Overkill. This one is an overkill. We're going to start with the aspect on this first. Deathblow creates a shockwave, dealing up to 45% of its base damage to enemies. Enemies who die to this effect reset Deathblow's cooldown. If you look, we've added 350% increased damage to injured enemies. Injured enemies are when they're below 35% life. When you use this aspect here in conjunction with this extra damage that you're going to get when they're below, Deathblow has a chance of resetting its cooldown by a lot because you're going to be doing a ton more damage while the enemies are low life versus when they're high life. But they did add another massive 270 strength. They added 170 vulnerable damage. They added up to 450 physical damage. And then ranks to Deathblow actually increased this time, and now they're up to 6. The Ramalama Ding Dong Magnum Opus. This is one of my favorite items this season. I played a dual wield bash barb with it. I loved it. So much fun. What they're doing to this, they're adding strength. They're taking away the damage with dual wield weapon, which was just additive. They're taking away the damage to close. They're taking away the chance to restore primary resources. And they're adding critical strike damage. Perfect. Some overpower damage. Interesting. They're taking the aspect, and it's going from 0.4 as a maximum up to 0.5. The damage that you're going to be gaining is going to be up to 0.5% increased damage per point of fury. You are going to be losing 10 fury per second. So that's a big jump, but that is going to be easily overcome because a lot of the builds that we're going to be running, maybe Frenzy, where this is going to be used, is going to be generating fury and not spending fury. So there's going to be some incredibly fun interactions with this weapon now. Gore's Devastating Grips. This one used to be an instant salvage, and now I can't even wait to get my hands on it when the season launches. I'm going to be leveling as a Whirlwind build, with some Dust Devils, of course. In the current season, right now, Whirlwind does not scale with attack power. With Whirlwind scaling with attack power in the new season, we may not even need to tap. So having this really unique and one-of-a-kind movement speed on a pair of gloves is going to be awesome. We have to try and stack at least 250% movement speed so that we can make up for the movement speed that you lose while you're channeling Whirlwind. This also has up to 15% attack speed, critical strike chance against close enemies up to 22.5%. That's a lot. It's going to add up to 5 ranks of Whirlwind, and then when Whirlwind explodes every 2 seconds and when after it ends, it deals 70% of the base damage to surrounding enemies as fire damage. I'm thinking we're going to start seeing some fire barbarians soon. Field of Crimson. The implicit here is going to be 130% vulnerable damage. They're adding a huge number, 270 strength. Then they're giving you 550% damage to bleeding. Now, it is an additive number, but anywhere that you add 550%, you're going to notice a difference. Rupture is going to have a massive increase to explosion size, which is going to be 70%. That is going to scale up as you masterwork it. We're looking at over 100% increased size to your Rupture. Rupture's cooldown is going to be increased by 25%. The aspect itself is going to be staying the same. Paingorgers. I am kind of on the fence about how I feel about these new ones. The attack speed was reduced by 1%. They added cooldown reduction, which is actually pretty cool, up to 8% cooldown reduction. They took away the critical strike chance and replaced it with chance to stun. I know that there's going to be some interesting interactions with retribution and knockdown and stun, but I don't know if I like losing the critical strike chance for the stun. And the basic damage was replaced with basic skills. That is cool because that's going to affect whatever basic skill that you choose. Instead of having just additive basic damage, this is going to be a much bigger increase to damage here. Fist of Fate. This is the hot topic of the season right now. Everybody's talking about this piece of gear. You are going to get up to 51.8% lucky hit chance. And then you can masterwork it. If you find a greater affix on it, you're looking at over 100% chance to lucky hit. This is going to be insane. They made great changes here. They got rid of all of the lucky hit chance to do something. They added attack speed, critical strike chance, lucky hit chance, a massive amount of it, and chance to apply a random crowd control effect, which is honestly kind of fun to play. So we'll see where and who is going to be using this, but this is actually a really big, really great change to this piece of gear. The Soul Brand, everybody's favorite meme. This took an interesting change. They increased the damage reduction that we're going to be getting. They raised the potion capacity by 2. You are now allowed to use potions when you're at max life, which will keep on increasing your barrier. So you're going to get 30% damage reduction while you have a barrier. Every time that you heal yourself at max life, you're going to generate barrier. So it might actually end up being something that you might want to try out for builds that are going to be running a lot of barrier generation, or a lot of stuff where they're going to be doing more damage with a barrier, or they're going to gain lucky hit chance with a barrier. So we'll see. This might not be the meme that it used to be. Yen's Blessing. This one was actually a favorite of the season, and I really do like what they did with this. The movement speed is increased by 0.5%, so that's almost exactly the same. I didn't like that they took away the vulnerable damage. I thought that was kind of a cool place to get extra damage out of something on boots. They added in resistance to all elements, and in a big number, so that's great. They also added all stats in instead of the damage reduction from close. That is also, again, something else that I'm on the fence about, because having a damage reduction is important, and it's kind of hard to get it somewhere. But when we get to the very end of this video, you're going to see exactly why we may not actually need that right there. The resource generation that they added in place of the lucky hit chance to restore primary resources is a really big win. Having constant resource generation instead of a lucky hit chance is going to be big. Rage of Haragoth. This took some great and crazy changes too. If you look at the aspect, you gain up to a 60% chance to reduce your cooldown of your skills by 1 second. Pair this with a Fist of Fates. This is a lucky hit chance. You pretty much are guaranteed every time that you inflict bleed, you're going to get a 1 second cooldown on all of your skills. They give you maximum life, and instead of your critical strike chance against elites only, you get straight critical strike chance on a chess piece, which is, again, unique. They're also going to give you up to 95% damage over time, so just additive damage there. And they're taking the damage reduction from bleeding enemies and they're reducing it down to 12.5. When we get a greater affix, that'll probably equal out to be about the same as the 14% that it used to be. So I'm really excited to get my hands on this and try it out. This one I think everyone's excited about. We just saw with the Gore's devastating grips, Whirlwind can now apply fire damage. The implicit here is going to be 300% increased damage to burning enemies. That's already a lot as it is. It's an additive number, but it is still 300%. We're going to be gaining up to 360 strength, massive, and our upheaval size is going to be increased by 70%. That's huge. Then we're going to get 6 ranks to upheaval, 4 ranks to wallop, and then upheaval is going to ignite enemies, and it's going to do fire damage to them. And then this is going to be increased by a 10% multiplicative for every 100 strength you have. The person that had this weapon on had 2,200 strength on. That gives them the 220% multiplicative number, and that is increasing the damage over time that this is going to be doing. If you look at the Dust Devil builds this season, and we look at the damage that it's doing with bleed, those aspects are very similar in damage numbers to that burning damage that's being shown there. This might scale up really, really high. It's going to be fun to get this on, get up out there and start upheavaling things. It may be a pretty top tier build. The Banished Lord's Talisman. This is another one that I'm on the fence about how I feel about the changes. They removed the critical strike chance. They added attack speed. They give you 1 additional core skill. That is the last of your regular uniques. Now, we're going to hop into it. We're going to cover the Uber unique, the Mythic unique, Mystic uniques, whatever they're calling them now, we're going to go over them. And they now really feel like they're Uber. The Melted Heart of Zelig. This is truly going to be going into the damage reduction and then survivability aspect of the game. They're giving you 30% resistances to all, so they're increasing it over what it used to be, and they're giving you a 3% increased cap. This is going to give you up to 73% with just regular gear on. Now, you're going to be able to have lucky hit chance here. They're increasing the movement speed up to 25%. Instead of the damage while healthy, you're now going to have damage reduction, 15% damage reduction while healthy. They're giving you additional resource generation, and then the aspect is going to be staying the same. And the Spear of Lycander. This one is kind of interesting. They're giving us a big amount of vulnerable damage, critical strike damage, and overpower damage all at one time with the implicit. They're giving us 18% increase all stats, movement speed, which is actually a very big number for movement speed, 66% resistances to all elements. When this is masterworked fully, you do not need any more resistance to all elements anywhere else on your gear. And then they're going to give you a chance to restore 66% of your primary resources on lucky hit. With your Fist of Fate, you're probably going to be restoring this very, very often. And the aspect is remaining the same. Andariel's Visage. This looks on the surface to have gotten like a very big buff to damage. The aspect itself, instead of doing that 4,500, is showing 37,740. If you've ever used this before, it does scale off of your character, so that might just be the weapon scaling. I don't know for sure exactly what it's going to look like when you put it on. They're changing the 60% poison resistance, which is great, to maximum poison resist. So you're now going to be able to run 80% poison resist with this helmet on. They're giving you a whopping 30% attack speed. That's huge. The bummer here, what I'm really, really disappointed about, that they're taking away the lifesteal. That, for me, was the biggest part of this piece of gear that made it viable. It was the only piece of gear in the whole game where the lifesteal was taken based off the damage that you did and not on your percent or the monster's percent of life. They're giving you 431 life on hit, which is not a ton. It can go up with your master working, but it's not really going to be a big jump. The 77 to all stats is going to be a big jump over the 18, and they're giving you 666% poison resist. So just so you know, we're going to have enough poison resist. And the Doombringer, as if this wasn't fun enough to use. They're taking the maximum life that is given, and they're bumping it from 26% to 35%, so an additional 9%. They're giving you 114 all stats. The implicit is going to be 100 plus the damage. There's going to be damage reduction on a weapon. We're now going to get 10% damage reduction from this without it being masterworked, and the lucky hit chance to heal was bumped up just a little bit from just over 1,000 to just short of 2,700. The Ring of Starless Sky. This was one of my favorite uber uniques to use in this season currently. That 50% multiplicative number to damage on your ring was really, really hard to replace with anything that was out there right now. In the season though, all of the affixes felt like they felt short. Now, they changed it. A massive 17% increased attack speed as your base. They give you 12% critical strike chance, 12% lucky hit chance, and plus 2 to core skills instead of your core damage, which is just an additive number. So this is a really, really big boost and a really great buff to this already really good uber unique. And now here it is, the Grandpappy, the father of all of the barbarians, the one that everybody looks out for. They are taking this and they are giving it a facelift. They're taking your all stats and they're more than doubling it. Your implicit is going to be durability loss, but you're also going to be gaining 150% straight damage. On top of that, they're giving you 300% straight damage. You're looking at minimum 450% straight damage. They're going to buff up the life just a little bit, and then you're going to be gaining 20 maximum resources instead of your durability loss. They moved your ignore durability loss into the implicit and gave us 20 additional resources. This is going to be nuts. The Harlequin's Crest. This one has been what everybody's talking about. They took the 7% cooldown reduction and buffed it all the way up to 20. You get a greater affix on this and masterwork it 3 times. You are looking at over 50% increased cooldown. Now I didn't put this as my top uber unique for the season, And the reason I didn't do that is because we're getting so much cooldown reduction in so many other unique places this season that may not be 100% necessary. The armor buff is pretty cool. They're giving us a ton of armor. The max life is going up, and they're giving us max resistances. I am kind of bummed that they're taking away the resource generation, because that was always really, really nice to have on the Materials Might is probably going to be the only chest piece that you will ever need to wear. Why is that? It's giving us 20% increased damage reduction. Now, the Harlequin's Crest has that, but it's on an aspect. It's not on an affix line. If we were to hit a greater affix on the 20% damage reduction, and then we masterwork it 3 times, you're looking at over 50% damage reduction in one place. We're going to get 60% resistance to all elements. 1 greater affix on that, or masterworking to level 12 gives you all of the resistances that you need. You can save any other affix line on all of your pieces of gear. You don't have to put any resistances there. We're going to be gaining 7.5% maximum resistance to all elements. That is actually an increase from your 5%. We're getting 2.5% more, which is a really big increase to that. And for all you Whirlwind enthusiasts, they're giving us movement speed on this. The aspect is staying the same, but this is going to give us everything that we need. It's going to save us stat lines on any of our other pieces of gear. This one right here for me takes the cake for all of the changes to all of the Uber Uniques this season. That is everything. I am so excited to hop into Season 5 and play a Barbarian. The Barbarians are going to be top tier, I promise you. All of these changes that they made on paper, it just is paper. It looked bad when everything was released, but going through this, I have zero doubts that Barbarians are going to take over. They're going to be number 1. We're going to keep on running Barb Nation. So if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe. I'm live on YouTube and Twitch just about every single night. Stop by. Let's theorycraft some stuff. Catch you on the clip side.